Hello friends, Namaste. I am going to cover the chapter 2 part. Chapter 1 part 1 we looked at Buddhi Yukto Jahatiha Udhe Sukrita Diskrute Tasmat Yogaya Yachasva Yoga Dharmasakostam. That if you have a skill naturally kept it, then you will find your meditative space over there. In immersing into your skillful action is where the yoga will happen, and with the yoga, the Buddhi Yoga will happen to you. You will Buddhi Yukto Jahati hai. Don't worry about what is good or bad. Get that Buddhi Yoga, the wisdom through which you will be able to go to the nectar. Now, in this part, Krishna is telling why we get into this muddle. He's saying, wandering into the nature when our senses engage with the sense object in the nature, we had this downfall. What is that downfall? How it happened? He's saying, 62 verses, 62 onward, this we're going to cover most of the verses here from chapter 2. Dhyayate Vishyan Kunsah Sangaste Supajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kamat Ko Kamat Prodha Vijay. Meaning, when contemplating sense object, the senses actually contemplate with the sense object, and when the senses start liking, disliking, whatever, in whatever way, they would like the attachment arises. With the attachment, the desire to do more is born, right? Because you want to do it again. And from the desire, if the desire is not fulfilled in time, there is an anger that arises. So it's all hidden inside, right? So desire has got the hidden anger in it, the non-fulfillment of desire. And even if the desire is fulfilled, you will crave for more, and then there is a bigger anger. Then you want to do it more and more and more often and more often, right? And then the anger starts taking larger perspective, larger style, and you become mightier. The desire also becomes mightier, and this attachment also, the passion for attaching with the sense object also goes on ever increasing. So what is warning for us is to kind of not get into this distraction of the sense and sense object, and be mindful that more and more desire is actually going to cause more and more anger to you. So associating yourself with so much of object is actually going away from your centered awareness and the soul, and you are bound to get interrupted. Absolute. So get this, understand, use this emotional intelligence to find the balance. As long as you have this body, mind and senses, you will engage with the nature. But strike a balance over there. Stay productive in the skillful world. Avoid conflicts. This is, imperative. Senses will engage. But draw a line from where that beyond this, it is taking you over and you will be no more. So be very, very careful about it. So, in the spiritual world, what it says is that attachment to the sensory object will lead to the desire, to the anger, and then you will be entangled into this illusion, Maya, and this is a vicious cycle which will take you over. So you need to cultivate the detachment and focus on the eternal self. You see that what is important for you to remain the centered awareness, because in the awareness, your wisdom will arrive. And in the wisdom is where you will find your progress and peace. So detachment from the world has to be cultivated, is what Krishna is saying over here. And we give the genesis of what happens, when the anger comes in. One is said that the senses engage with the nature, and then, with the engagement, the attachment comes, the attachment, the desire comes, the desire to do more and more, and then the anger steps in. Now we talks about the next genesis, next set of genesis. what happens when the anger section, verse 63. Krodhat dvodi sammoha, sammohat smriti vibrama, smriti bhransat buddhinasho, buddhinasat pranasya. Anger is coming. With anger comes delusion, sammoha. Meaning, this is mine, this should remain with me, I don't want to give it away, it should always remain with that called moha, delusion. And from the delusion, what comes is, when it's like a mind, and actually you start losing your memory. Mriti viprama. You forget your true soul, your true purpose. The centered awareness is gone. It's like Smriti viprama is a centered awareness, it's gone. Because you are identifying yourself with the objects in nature. And with the loss of memory, there is a distraction of the intellect. So mind has got 4 compartments: mind, intellect, memory, and the ego. The ego has gone into the nature. So like you perception, you are identifying yourself with the nature. So what it does is, that memory is gone. The memory is depleted because of this kind of identity, because this smriti is lost, memory is gone. Why? Sammoha had happened. You are identifying yourself with the nature. And because of this loss of memory, intellect is gone. So what happens to the mind? Mind, which is the mirror of the soul, is actually completely turned into a complex thing. And then it loses the centered awareness. Okay. So it doesn't reflect the soul anymore. That is what it meant. So, with the loss of memory, the intellect is destroyed, and from the destruction of the intellect, one starts perishing. Perishing means it is disappeared. The soul disappears. No, I can't reflect anymore because the memory is gone, the intellect is gone. And that is where mind is composed of these things. Mind, the things, the thinking mind. Mind has got 4 things: thinking mind, intellect, memory, and ego. In the reverse order, ego destroys memory, memory destroys intellect, and then the thinking itself is disrupted completely. So the mind is no more reflecting the self. So this is the destructive power of the anger, that what we get to understand in our life. The importance of the emotional regulation, to be able to draw line and to be able to be in the full awareness of how senses are engaging with the nature, and then how desires are emerging, and then you strike a balance. No, this is enough of a desire, no more, and then control the fulfillment, and then be aware so that the anger doesn't arise, because if the anger arises, then the moha will happen, the illusion will happen, and the me, my mind will all come in, and memory would be lost, and the intellect will go and gone. So regulate it to bring it to some kind of a control and maintain the clarity of thought somewhere. And we got the last aspect, right? From the ego to memory to intellect to the thought of the mind. So to kind of keep maintaining that. In the end, there will be some thought left with which you should be able to get the clarity. But eventually what it says is that the only way to get back to the rhythm is, you now don't engage in the nature. You start doing action. So that the next chapter will talk about the yoga of action. Get into the action with the skillful thing, because with the immersive action, skillful action, you will find your meditating soul. You will get into the soul somehow, and that's where your wisdom will emerge. As soon as the wisdom emerges, intellect emerges, you will gain your memory back. And when you will gain your memory back, this false perception will go, because the reverse cycle has begun. Understand that? Keep in mind. So, for inner peace and wisdom, freeing yourself from the cycle of the anger and delusion is very important. Understand this, Janish, is how it works, and then break the cycle somewhere. You have to break this cycle. This breaking of the cycle is in the reverse order. Okay. So now a little bit about what happens. That if you control the senses and free yourself from the attachment and aversion, you will be able to get into this control. And what you will get is the mental serenity. Serenity is that softness of the mind. So, verse 64 of Bhagavad Gita says, Radha tvesa viyuktestu visayan indriyesharan atmavasya vidheyatma prasadam madhigacchati. One controls the senses, will be able to free himself from the attachment and the aversion, and will be able to control the mind with the self-discipline. And that is how you will again regain this softness. Mana prasadam somyatam. Here he talks about prasadam madhigacchati. With prasad of what? Mana prasadam. Meaning mind will get back the prasadam, asirvadam of the softness, serenity. So with all this thinking, what happens is eventually we lose the softness of mind. And with this softness in the softness of the mind is where the soul reflects, right? So that Satchidananda is there in this softness. That is somya, there is the samatto, that the balance, right? So you will regain that prasadam, mana prasadam, somyatam, serenity. You will get it back. So get to that emotional balance, and attachment and aversion, you have to remove, weep that too. And all this, Visayan Indriyacharan, for all the objects with your senses, you will have to control that the mind doesn't wander into it. And then Atmavasya, take it into control of the mind, you will be able to regain your serenity. With that, you will be able to go back to your soul. Then 65 says, verse number 65, second chapter, with that prasada, what will happen? Prasade sarva dukkhanam hani rasya upajayate prasanna chetaso buddha yaso buddhi pariyavatishtate. Meaning, with this serenity, all sorrows will be destroyed. All that, entanglement that you have got will be removed. Why? As soon as the mental softness is regained, all this entanglement and complicity that you develop will be gone once for all. And the intellect of the serene mind will quickly become steady. It will be established into the serene mind. It will be established right within the center of the serene mind. So what it says is, prasanna chekaso hyaso buddhir pari avatishtate. In this softened mind, prasanna chekaso, softened happy mind, buddhi pari avatishtate. This wisdom will appear. Yeah. Wisdom will appear there. That's the intellect. Intellect will appear. Now the reverse order has started. Mind has become soft. Wisdom has appeared again. This is what you lost, right? You, because of the ego, you lost the memory, you lost the intellect, and you lost the softness of your mind. Now, gain the softness of your mind, the intellect appear. Now, buddhi when it comes, buddhi pariyavatishtate. When you are established in the buddhi, intellect, what will happen? Come see the next. So, the next is, nasti buddhi adittasya. Now, I giving another genesis. If you don't gain back this intellect, what happens? And then you will see the genesis, how it works, right? Nasti buddhi ayuktasya, na cha ayuktasya bhavana, na cha abhavayatah shanti asantasya kutasukham. Meaning, if you don't regain back this intellect, you will never get the right emotion. Na cha ayuktasya bhavana. You will not get the right emotion. Emotions to be centered into the soul. Because emotion is what you feed inside, and in return, what you get is your original nature, which is which you're born with, right? And nacha abhavayatah shanti. If you don't get back to the right settings of your emotion, you will never get the peace, because your peace lies into the original setting with the original emotions that you were born with. You have a particular nature, you have your self nature, and within that you operate at full potential. When that is lost, then you will never peaceful. So The asantasya putta sukham. The happiness of you and your soul and mind will not come if you do not get that intellect back. Because if they don't get the intellect back, you will not get the balance of your emotions, and you will never be able to get peace without that. And if you don't get the peace, you will never be happy. Our actually happiness lies into the peace, my own peace, not the peace in the world, peace in me, inside me. So, what is important over here is to cultivate the mindfulness and the way this, intellect, memory and ego operate, and make sure with the clarity of thought, analyzing all of that, get back that mental softness, because with that, you will regain your intellect and will regain your memory, etc. With that, you will get back your emotion. With that, you will get back for peace and happiness. So, verse 67 talks about Indriyanam hi charkam yan manonu vidhiyate tadasya harting prakya vayunam vidha ivambase. Now, the wisdom he talked about, then he is also talking about where does this thought will start becoming softened. Common sense. Common sense is what? It's like if you analyze your thoughts and say, oh, this is engaging here in the nature and now this is going to harm me. Now this is too much of it. Now I need to stop it. What is it actually? This is called prakya. It's a common sense. This is beyond the wisdom. That there's no rule book. Is that you need to analyze, in your awareness, you develop this common sense. So people who have a lot of knowledge, a lot of intellect, may not have common sense. And people who have common sense are more successful than people who are knowledgeable and intellectuals. So develop this. So there is a problem here. Krishna says that if your mind is wandering into the nature, indriyanam ji charata, yan manonu vidhiyate, right? The boat on the water is swept away by the wind. So the mind is carried away by the wandering senses, destroying somebody's wisdom, one's wisdom. Okay. He saying Indriyanam hi charta jan manonu vidhiyate tadasya harting pragya vayu navam vamse. This wisdom, and that talking about pragya is common sense, is that this common sense is destroyed. If you don't, your analytical capability is completely gone because your mind is wandering into this sense. So, is carried away by the wandering senses. So, there is a warning here in our life that, this kind of distraction which is developed because of the sense engagement with the sense object, you will lose focus and you will be swayed away by the external influences and you will lose common sense. Now, how do we gain back with seeing the following verses? So, realize that this generally what happens. Sensory distractions are very dangerous. And it will take you away from the centered awareness. So the next one is 68 shloka, verse number 68. Tasmadasya mahabhavu nigrihitani sarvasa indriyadindriyarthebhya tasya pragya pratishtita. Now you say, where is that pragya, common sense? Where is pragya pratishtita? Where is this pragya, common sense? Where does it reside? He says, if you control your senses and attack its attachment with the sense object, indriyani indriyarkebhya tasya pragya. The sense and sense objects, there is a purpose for that, right? And there is a limit over there, right? And for certain reasons it engages, right? Exactly within this state. Nigrihitan, meaning when you do nigraha means restraint. With the moment you understand the way they operate and then you draw a line, the common sense lies over there. Common sense for it. Nigrihitani, somehow you analyze it, see the how it operates, see the impact of it, right? To what extent it is okay, beyond which is not okay, is the nigrihitani. Is where you do restraint. And they say no more, beyond this nothing. is where the common sense lies. Okay, because as long as you have body, senses, and engagement with the sense objects, you are there in this world. It's like they drive you for certain things and then they sway you. Let them not sway you. As long as they're driving you is fine, but beyond that, no. So, in our workplace, we will need to avoid distraction, draw a line somewhere, maintain the clarity of thought, have this common sense that, prakya, and understand that senses and the sense object uh, restraint over there somewhere will give you some common sense. You need to analyze this sense and sense perceptions and how they engage with the object in the nature. That is where the wandering happens. So, transcend that sensory distraction is the spiritual teaching here. Transcend that sensory distraction. Senses will distract you. You will have to transcend it. See it as an observer and understand that the result of each engagement in the nature is actually make you grieve about that engagement later. The momentary and temporary pleasure that they gave you will eventually become a grief for you. That is what you need to understand. That common sense should develop. And once you've gotten that, stop it. So next verse 69 here. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagrati sanyame yasyam jagrati bhutane sa nisha paschyatum. What it says is that in nisha is that wandering of mind into the nature, the sense and sense object. That's called nisha. Nisha is the night. So for awakened soul, that is night, where the mind is wanting. That is the time when it actually is sleeping, right? So this is a sleep time, and yasyam jagrati bhutani, and where this mind and senses are wandering, the Muni, one whose senses have gone silent and mourn, Muni sees them as the night, and where people are wandering, they actually when they are wandering, he's actually centered into the awareness. He is awakened over there, and where the people are actually awakened, they are awakened into this sense wandering. Muni sees this as night. Okay. So what is the teaching over here? The teaching here is that analyze this and see it as that. This is actually the night, which is supposed to be the day for the whole world is actually getting engaged, and they say that this is what we are here to do. So this is our day. So action is into the daytime. So action, it is into the mind and the sense objects and the engagement into this nature. That should be the day, but actually the Muni, one of the Tapasvi, will see that no, this kind of thing is actually night. And the awakening is within, not in the sense object and wonder. So the staying vigilant with this mindfulness and not allowing your mind to get distracted is actually awakening, and that's the day for the Muni. And so awaken to the eternal reality of the soul, and do not get into this sleep of ignorance, where the mind wanders into this nature. This is how important to analyze and understand. The 70th verse is Apurimanam Achalam Kritishtam. So this is the penultimate verse that I'm going to talk about in this part of the video. Apurimanam Achalam Kritishtam Samudramapa Pravishanti Yatvat Tadvat Kamana Pravishanti Yat Sarve Sa Santimadmoti Na Kanakan. What he's saying is, ocean remains undisturbed even when so many rivers are flowing into it and carrying all their water, right? In the same way, a person who attains peace does not get impacted by desires entering it, and the desires entering into him, he is not impacted by that. Let the desire come and go, but he doesn't get impacted. The three desires are basically the polluted river waters that is actually coming into the ocean. The ocean does not get affected by that. It is undisturbed. So this is what we are supposed to actually in life show that emotional resilience and detachment, and remain calm and composed like ocean, even in the face of challenges and all these kind of ecosystem turbulence that we have all around us. Remain calm and composed. And all the spiritual teachings that we get here is to transcend all these desires. In the desire, you are among the desire of yourself and the other. This is a complex system, but you need to transcend. You see how the desire operates, the after effect of this, and how the whole world is being. That is the Misha, right? For Sarva Bhutana. They feel that they are actually doing a great job, but actually they are not. They are losing their peace, and what they are earning through all of their engagements is loss of peace, loss of their blissful state of soul. So, remain unaffected by external circumstances and stay balanced. It was the teaching in this verse. The last one, the 71st verse of chapter 2 is where Krishna is suggesting that one who abandons all the desire and lives free from this craving of desire without ego or possessiveness or identity in the nature will attain the peace. So what he's saying is, mind wandering in the nature is the father for the problem. It impacts, and that is actually papa. Vihaya kaman meh sarvan kuman charita nispaya. All vihaya kaman, shed all the desire, kuman charati. Vihaya kamanya sarva. Sarvan is all the desire. Puman charati nispaya. And those who abandon this nispriya, meaning ruthlessly relinquish them. Nirmamo nirhankara. Nirmamo means not nirmama means no emotion. It's not a nirmamo means, and nirhankara is almost the same. It's not me, it's not me. So the identity in the nature is it's me, it's me, it's me, it's mine. But nirmamo is it's not me, it's not mine. This is I call it in a different way. Yeah, it's not being rude or being ruthless. It's not me, it's not me, it's not mine. That's nirmama. Mam is me. Nirmam is not me. It's not mine. Nirahankara. I am not this. And don't associate your ego, perception or identity with it. That's your nirahankara. One who does this, so santim adhigacit. That person achieved the peace. And one who achieved the peace will have his intellect. He will have his wisdom and common sense and will succeed in life. One who doesn't have will not. Is a long-term failure. Get to the core. Get to your peace, get your memory back, get your intellect back, have the common sense and operate with that common sense, you will succeed in life. This is what this verse teaches us. Finally, the second chapter comes to an end, giving us the inner peace and the unity with the divine, which is where Krishna is trying to direct. The spiritual vision here is to transcend the ego and the attachment and get to soul. What we learned here and get guided by Lord Krishna by navigating into the complexities of mind and its attachment into the nature, and how we can cultivate clarity, common sense, do by analysis of how mind engages with the sense and sense object, through resilience and detachment, find our inner purpose and peace, and then thereby regaining the memory, intellect, and calmness to be able to do more. So, Uh, Krishna's words are not just for the battlefield, it is for our life also. In our corporate, personal, and spiritual world, the true wisdom lies in understanding our duty, our dharma. This is beyond emotion, beyond fear, beyond doubt. Soul is eternal, and the wise will stay firm against the success and failure. I'm counting part one and part two summary right now. Let us remember that the equanimity in action is the key to the inner peace. So the skillful action that you are naturally born with it, finding the equanimity within that, you will find your meditation and the ultimate success. That is where your memory, intellect are being. But the question remains, no? If the wisdom lies in detachment, then why should we act? And if everything is transient in nature, what is the purpose of work? Our ambitions are struggle. So Arjuna too is confused and continues to remain confused. So in chapter 3, Krishna is going to talk to us about the path of action, which is actually called as karma yoga. Yoga in action. Action is inevitable, but the secret is how to do that karma. How do we act? Not just what we do, how we do. How we can perform our duties without attachment. How we can turn our work into a shape. And how we are going to practice the art of selfless action is what we're going to come into the chapter 3. This is going to help us transform work into a path to our liberation. So stay tuned. Upcoming the yoga of action in the chapter 3 by Lord Krishna. Thank you for being with me through this video. See you soon with the chapter 3.